The sun was bright over the luxury resort. Palm trees danced in the soft wind, and the ocean waves whispered in the distance. It looked like paradise, but something heavy was about to arrive. A shiny black car stopped near the front entrance. A tall woman stepped out, wearing large sunglasses and a golden scarf that sparkled in the light. Her name was Mrs. Evelyn Barton. Everyone knew the name. Rich, famous, and feared. The bellboy rushed to help with her bags. Careful. Mrs. Barton snapped. That luggage is worth more than your job. The boy nodded silently, his hands shaking. She walked past him like he was invisible. Inside the lobby, guests turned to look. Her perfume filled the air, sharp and heavy. She waved her hand as if pushing the air away. "It smells cheap in here," she said loudly. The receptionist forced a smile. Mrs. Barton checked in and asked for the most expensive suite. "And send someone to clean it again," she added. "I don't trust your standards." Just behind the counter stood a young woman in uniform, holding a tray of drinks. Her name was Mia. She had kind eyes and a soft smile. She worked long hours but never complained. Everyone liked Mia, except Mrs. Barton. Later that afternoon, Maya was assigned to serve Mrs. Barton at the private beach cabana. Mia walked over gently with a fresh towel and a glass of fruit water. "Good afternoon, ma'am," she said politely. "Here's your drink." Mrs. Barton didn't even look at her. "What is this?" she said. "Lemon water with mint, ma'am." Mrs. Barton took a sip, then she spit it out. "This is disgusting," she shouted. "Did you pick these lemons from the garbage?" Mia stayed calm. "I'm sorry, ma'am. I can bring something else." Mrs. Barton rolled her eyes. "Bring me something that doesn't taste like toilet water." Mia nodded and walked away. Guests nearby looked uncomfortable. Some whispered, but no one spoke up. Mrs. Barton didn't stop there. Every time Maya returned, she had something rude to say. Too slow. Too cold. Too ugly to be in hospitality. Mia kept her head down, but behind her soft voice, something was different. There was a quiet strength in her eyes, a fire that did not burn out. That evening, in the hotel restaurant, Mrs. Barton created another scene. She ordered a rare steak, then yelled at the chef when it arrived. "This is raw," she screamed. "Are you trying to kill me?" Mia was nearby, carrying drinks to another table. Mrs. Barton pointed at her. "You. Yes, you. I've seen better waitresses in prison movies." Mia said nothing. She looked into Mrs. Barton's eyes, calm and unshaken. The manager rushed in to apologize to Mrs. Barton. "She's our best waitress, Mom," he said. Mrs. Barton laughed loudly. "Then your standards are as low as your carpet." The other guests now looked directly at her, no longer hiding their shock. One woman whispered to her husband, "Why is she so cruel?" But Mrs. Barton didn't care. She felt powerful. She thought her money made her untouchable. After her meal, she called Mia over again. "Tell the manager I want new towels, new pillows, and a better view. I paid for the best." "Yes, ma'am," Maya replied. "Oh, and next time," Mrs. Barton added with a smirk, "try smiling less. It doesn't suit your face." Mia gave a small nod and walked away. But that night, alone in the staff kitchen, she opened a small notebook. She wrote down, "Some people hide their darkness behind diamonds, but I've seen worse, and I didn't break then." She closed the notebook, her fingers tight around it. Behind her, another staff member spoke. "You okay?" Mia looked up and smiled faintly. "I'm fine. Just remembering who I am." The next morning, Mrs. Barton ordered breakfast to her suite. Mia brought it, fresh and perfectly made. But Mrs. Barton barely noticed. "I want to speak to the resort owner," she said. "The staff here is too slow, too loud, and too stupid." Mia said nothing, but her heart beat a little faster. She had heard that name before. Mrs. Barton. Somewhere in her past, somewhere painful. But she didn't say a word. Not yet. She walked out of the room quietly. Outside, she opened her notebook again. She wrote one more line. If she knew who I really was, she would have chosen her words more carefully. And for the first time that week, Mia smiled. But this time, it wasn't soft. It was sharp. The sky over the resort was clear the next morning, but inside Mia's heart, old clouds were returning. The name Mrs. Barton echoed in her mind like thunder. After serving breakfast, Mia went to the staff lounge for a short break. She pulled out her small notebook again, the one only she ever saw. She flipped through the pages. Many were filled with dates, names, and quiet pain. She stared at one line. Barton Industries. Legal internship application denied. Reason: background check failed. That had been 2 years ago. Mia took a deep breath. It was time to remember what she had tried so hard to forget. A different life. Before she was a waitress, Mia had dreams of wearing a suit, standing in courtrooms, and fighting for justice. She had been the top student in her law school. Her teachers loved her. Her classmates respected her. But life doesn't always reward the honest. Her father died when she was 17, leaving behind nothing but debt. Her mother fell sick. Mia worked nights while studying law during the day. She applied for an internship at a powerful law firm owned by Barton Industries, hoping it would change her life. She was shortlisted. She passed every test. Until one morning, she received an email. We regret to inform you. No explanation. No chance to speak. Just silence. Later, a professor told her the truth in whispers. Someone high up blocked your application. Said your background was a risk, but no one explained why. It didn't make sense. Until now. Back in the present, Mia stood near the staff locker room, holding her notebook tightly. Her hands shook, not with fear, but anger. Her life had changed because of Barton Industries. And now, the woman who may have caused it all was throwing food in her face. Mia wasn't sure if Mrs. Barton had anything to do with the rejection. But the name was no longer just a coincidence. It was a connection, one she needed to understand. That evening, Mia walked to the library section of the resort. Guests rarely visited it, but she loved the silence there. She searched the internet on the old computer in the corner. She typed, Evelyn Barton, husband, Barton Industries. The results showed a picture of a sharp-faced man in a suit, Richard Barton, CEO. Her heart stopped for a second. She recognized him, not from real life, but from a photo in the email her professor had once shown her, the one with her internship rejection. He had signed it. So it wasn't a mistake. It was personal. The flashback that hurt. Mia remembered something else. A year before her internship, her friend Lila had sued Barton Industries for unfair treatment. She had asked Mia to help with paperwork. Mia agreed. It was a small case, but Barton's lawyers fought back hard. They won. Lila lost her job. Mia didn't know that Barton's legal team had remembered her name. And now it all made sense. They had blocked her, destroyed her chance, ruined her dream before it started. Mia's promise. Mia stood in front of the resort mirror, looking at herself, not as a waitress, but as a woman who had been wronged. She remembered what her father once told her. Some people fight with fists, others with silence, but the strongest fight with truth. Mia decided she would no longer stay silent. But she had to be careful. Mrs. Barton had power, connections, money. Mia had none of those. But she had something stronger, the truth, and a heart that never quit. She pulled out her notebook again and wrote, She took away my future once. I won't let her take my voice again. A voice in the shadows. That night, after her shift ended, Mia made a call. A voice answered. Hello, Professor Langston, Mia said softly. It's me, Mia. There was a pause, then joy. Mia, I haven't heard from you in years. Are you okay? I think I know why I lost that internship, she said. She told him everything about Mrs. Barton, The resort, the name, the photo, and the rejection letter. Langston was silent. Then he said something that made Mia sit up straight. I still have the emails. I kept them because I never believed what they did was fair. Mia's heart raced. Can you send them? Yes. But Mia, if you go down this path, it's not easy. I know, she said, but it's the right one. Back to work. The next morning, Maya returned to work like nothing had changed. She smiled at guests, served breakfast, and cleaned up messes, but inside, her mind was sharp and ready. Mrs. Barton was at her usual spot by the pool, sipping fresh juice. She looked up at Mia and smirked. You're still here. Mia smiled gently. Yes, Mom. Still here. But this time, her smile had power. Real power. And as she walked away, she whispered under her breath, let's see how long you stay here. The sun was bright, but the truth was brighter now. Mia knew who Mrs. Barton really was, not just a rude guest, but part of the empire that had crushed her dream. And this time, Mia was not going to stay silent. She still wore her uniform, still served drinks, still smiled. But behind that smile, something had changed. Now, Mia was watching. Now, Mia was collecting every piece. The same game, again and again. That morning, Mia stood near the lobby as Mrs. Barton checked out her expensive jewelry in the mirror. Why are all the mirrors here so dusty? Mrs. Barton complained. Your staff is lazy. The receptionist stayed quiet. She had been warned. Mrs. Barton was a VIP. Mia watched the woman insult another staff member a few minutes later, this time the cleaning lady. Do you even understand English? Mrs. Barton snapped. Go learn your job before walking around me. The old woman lowered her eyes and walked away in silence. But Maya followed her outside. Are you okay? Maya asked. The cleaning lady nodded, but her voice was low. She treats us like dirt, but management says not to make noise. She's rich. Rich people never lose. Mia looked at her, then said softly, they do. One day. She looked up at the hotel's security cameras. Then an idea sparked in her mind. Footprints of abuse. That evening, Mia met with Ravi, a quiet man who worked in resort security. He was shy and didn't speak much, but he respected Mia. She had always treated him kindly. Ravi, she said, I need your help, but only if you feel safe. He looked nervous. What kind of help? I need the camera footage from the past 3 days, everything around Mrs. Barton. Ravi blinked. Why? She's not just a rude guest, Mia whispered. She's done worse, and I need to prove it. Ravi hesitated, then slowly nodded. I can't give it to you directly, but I can show it to the manager. If you make a report. Mia's eyes lit up. I will. That night, she stayed up writing her report. Every insult, every slap of food thrown, every staff member she saw humiliated. She even added what she remembered from her past, the internship, the rejection, the silence. She signed her name at the bottom. The warning. The next morning, Mia handed the report to the resort manager, Mr. Daniels. He was surprised. You're filing a formal complaint? He asked, blinking. Against Mrs. Barton. Yes, Maya said calmly. Daniels rubbed his forehead. She's a big client. Very powerful. She's also a bully, Maya replied. And power doesn't give you the right to crush others. Daniels stared at her. For a moment, it looked like he might say no. But then he nodded slowly. I'll review it. Things get worse. That afternoon, as if the wind had shifted, Mrs. Barton seemed more angry than usual. Maybe she had heard something. Maybe someone warned her. She walked into the staff dining area without permission. You, she pointed at Mia. Are you spying on me? Mia stayed calm. I'm just doing my job, Mom. Don't play innocent, Mrs. Barton growled. You think you're special because you bring me water with a smile. You're nothing. Other staff members froze. The room went silent. Mrs. Barton came closer, her voice sharper. You don't belong here. People like you never do. You think working hard will make you equal to me. It won't. Mia looked her in the eye. This time, she didn't look down. She didn't smile. She just said 5 words. We'll let the facts speak. Mrs. Barton stared at her. You'll regret this, she hissed. But Mia didn't blink. The staff speaks. Later that evening, a small meeting was held in the manager's office. Ravi showed the security footage on a screen. It was shocking. Mrs. Barton screaming at staff, throwing a glass on the floor, mocking a staff member's accent, tearing up a towel, and calling it garbage. Daniels watched quietly. So did 3 other managers. One of them, an assistant named Clara, wiped her eyes. I had no idea it was this bad, she said. She made us afraid to speak, another staff member said softly. Maya stayed silent during the meeting. She didn't need to speak. The truth was loud enough now. Power starts to shake. That night, Daniels called Mrs. Barton's room. He was careful with his words. Mrs. Barton, we've received multiple complaints about your behavior. We are investigating. Are you threatening me? She barked. Do you know who I am? We know, he said. But that doesn't excuse mistreating our staff. For the first time, Mrs. Barton's voice lost its edge. She slammed the phone down. Outside her door, Maya stood quietly, holding a tray of tea. She had heard everything. She walked away without knocking, her steps calm and steady. The letter. Back in her small room, Mia opened an email from Professor Langston. It had the attachments. One was her internship rejection. Another was a letter from Barton Industries' legal team. The final one made her freeze. It was an internal note. Reject applicant Mia's, involved in lawsuit activity against our company. We do not want future legal problems. There it was. Proof. They had destroyed her dream. Not because she was wrong, but because she had dared to speak. Closing scene. The next day, the resort felt different. Staff whispered. Guests watched. Mrs. Barton stayed in her room most of the day. And Mia. She stood taller, walked stronger. The fire in her heart now had fuel. Truth, courage, and proof. As she walked past the pool, a new guest asked her, Are you the girl who stood up to the golden guest? Mia smiled. Not soft, not sharp, just strong. Yes, she said. That's me. The next morning came with heavy clouds. The sky looked tired. So did the hotel staff. Something was off in the air. People whispered. Eyes followed Mia everywhere she went. It had begun. The call that shook the office. In the manager's office, the phone rang loudly. Mr. Daniels picked up. Resort management, Daniels speaking. The voice on the other end was cold. This is Richard Barton. I believe my wife is staying at your resort. Daniels sat up straight. Yes, Mr. Barton. She is. I've been told one of your employees is causing her distress, Richard snapped. My wife is not used to being questioned. I don't care what she said. She's a guest, a very important one. Daniels kept his voice calm. Sir, we have video footage. The staff has rights. I'm giving you one chance, Barton interrupted. Remove the girl, or I'll make sure your resort loses more than one guest. He hung up. Daniels sighed. Mia had started a storm, and it was now heading straight for her. The meeting that hurt. Later that day, Maya was called to the office. Mr. Daniels didn't look her in the eye. Mia, he said, I'm placing you on temporary leave. Mia's heart dropped. Why? There's pressure from high up, he said. The owner got a call. Richard Barton is threatening legal action. Mia nodded slowly. She had expected this. So I'm punished for telling the truth? She asked. I know it's unfair, Daniels said quietly. But I have no choice. Mia stood up. That's where you're wrong, sir. We all have choices. She left the office with her head high. Back to the shadows. Mia walked to her small room, packed a small bag, and sat on the edge of her bed. She looked at her notebook, the one full of pain and plans. She flipped to the last page and wrote, "They sent the storm, but I won't break. I'll become the wind." Then she opened her email and sent the evidence Professor Langston gave her, not just to Daniels, but to a journalist who once visited her law school. Subject: Power hides, but I'm not hiding anymore. Attached were the rejection letter, the legal threat memo, the video clips of Mrs. Barton's behavior, Mia's personal story. Then she pressed send. Truth finds its voice. The next morning, the world woke up to a storm of its own. Online, a blog post had gone viral. Young waitress exposes billionaire family's ugly truth at luxury resort. People were angry. Why are workers always the ones who suffer? She's brave. I hope the resort supports her. News channels picked it up. #JusticeForMia started trending on social media. The resort's management panicked. Guests began canceling. Staff refused to stay silent. The story had become bigger than just Mia and Mrs. Barton. It had become a movement. Mrs. Barton's rage. Inside her private suite, Mrs. Barton screamed at her assistant, who allowed this girl to speak. How did she even get that information? Her assistant stayed silent. "Fix it," Mrs. Barton screamed. "Now." But it was too late. Her words, once whispered to break others, were now shouted back at her. Every insult, every cruel smile, all of it was being replayed on TV screens and phones across the country. The manager's apology. That evening, Daniels called Mia. "Mia, I'm sorry," he said. "I know," she replied softly. "You're welcome to return. We've spoken to the board. Barton Industries is backing off." Mia was quiet for a moment. "I don't think I'm coming back." Daniels was surprised. "Why not?" "Because I'm not just a waitress anymore," she said. "I have something bigger to fight for now. An unexpected visitor." The next day, as Mia walked out of her room to catch a bus, a black car stopped in front of her. A woman in a sharp suit stepped out. "Are you Mia S.?" "Yes," Maya answered carefully. The woman smiled. "I'm from a law foundation. We read your story. We help people like you, people who were pushed down but refused to stay there." Mia blinked. "Why me?" "Because you didn't break, and because we think you still have the heart to be a lawyer." The woman handed her a card. "We're offering you a full scholarship to finish your law degree. And after that, a job." Mia looked down at the card, then back at the woman. A tear rolled down her cheek. She nodded. Yes, I'd like that." The power of one voice. That night, Maya wrote one last thing in her notebook. "They tried to crush me, but instead, they woke me up." One voice may be small, but when it speaks the truth, it becomes many voices. I am no longer afraid. The sun was hot that morning. The resort was quiet, but not calm. Staff whispered as they passed each other. The guests read news articles over breakfast. And in the heart of it all, Mrs. Barton sat by the pool, acting like nothing had changed. But everything had. An unexpected name on the guest list. At the front desk, Leo, the receptionist, read the name on the reservation list twice. He couldn't believe it. Miss Mia S. He called the manager. "Sir, Mia just booked a suite. A full VIP stay, under her name." Mr. Daniels raised his eyebrows. "You sure it's not a mistake? She already prepaid. Black car just dropped her off." Daniels rushed to the lobby. And there she was. Maya stood at the entrance in a white blouse and navy suit pants. She wasn't in a uniform anymore. She walked tall, calm, unshaken. But what surprised everyone the most? She wasn't alone. Behind her stood two women in business suits, holding folders and name tags that read, National Legal Justice Foundation. The moment everyone stopped, the lobby froze. Even the bellboys put their bags down to look. Mia gave a small nod. Hello, Leo. Long time no see. Leo smiled. Welcome back, Miss Mia. Mrs. Barton, watching from across the room, turned red. She stood, walked quickly across the lobby, and stood right in front of Mia. You, what is this joke? Coming back here, dressed like some fake lawyer. Mia didn't flinch. I'm here for a meeting, she said calmly. Meeting? With who? Daniels stepped forward. With the resort board. They've requested a full audit after recent complaints. Mia is working with the legal team handling employee rights. Mrs. Barton's eyes widened. You mean, this girl is part of the investigation? Not just part, one of the women behind Mia said. She's the reason we're here. Truth walks in. By noon, a private meeting was called in the main conference room. Daniels, the board members, hotel staff, and even media representatives were there. Maya stood before them, not as a waitress, but as the voice for those who couldn't speak. She played video clips. She showed documents. She told stories of workers who were yelled at, underpaid, or fired unfairly. No one interrupted her. Even Mrs. Barton, now sweating in silence, couldn't find her voice. The room was silent when Mia ended her talk. I was taught to stay quiet, she said. But staying quiet let others walk all over us. No more. One board member cleared his throat. Miss Mia, I'm deeply sorry. We had no idea. Mia nodded. Now you do. Justice begins. After the meeting, changes began quickly. New rules were posted across the resort. Staff were given raises and stronger protection. A public apology was written and posted online. And Mrs. Barton, she was quietly asked to leave the resort by the end of the day. No more VIP. No more threats, the board told her. She left without a word. No one clapped. But they didn't have to. Because Maya's return had already said everything. A room with a view. That evening, Maya stood on her sweet balcony. The wind touched her face softly. She looked out at the beach, where she used to clean tables. Now she stood as a guest. A respected voice. A fighter. Leo came to deliver her dinner. This time, he knocked first and waited politely. Hey, he smiled. Your food, Miss Mia. Thank you, she smiled back. He paused before leaving. I don't think I've ever seen anyone do what you did. I didn't plan to, Maya said. I just got tired of being small. Leo nodded. Well, you're not small anymore. A letter under the door. Late that night, Maya found an envelope under her door. She opened it. Inside was a short note, written in neat handwriting. You reminded me who I was before the money. I was wrong. Olivia Barton. Mia stared at the letter for a long time. She didn't smile. She didn't tear it up. She just folded it and placed it inside her notebook. Bigger than one girl. The next morning, Maya left the resort. But the echo of what she had done stayed behind. Staff stood straighter. Managers spoke more kindly. And no one looked at a waitress the same way again. What Maya started had become bigger than one moment. Bigger than one resort. Bigger than her. It had become a wave. 2 weeks had passed since Mia walked out of the resort for the last time. But her story didn't stay quiet. People were still talking, still sharing, still feeling something stir inside them. Because Mia didn't just fight back. She gave others permission to do the same. A new world at the resort. Things at the luxury resort were no longer the same. Gone were the days when staff were afraid to speak. Now they had power behind them. Security guards no longer looked away when rich guests acted out. Chefs and waitresses worked with dignity, knowing someone was finally watching out for them. Managers received training on how to treat workers with respect. Posters were placed in the break rooms with bold letters. You have or IJCS. You deserve respect. You are not alone. And in the lobby, next to the golden guest book, a photo of Mia was placed. Below it was a small note. Former waitress, future lawyer, forever brave. Guests would often stop and read the plaque. Some even asked about her story. The staff told it proudly. Mia's new life. Far from the resort, in a quiet city office, Mia sat with a team of legal experts. She was no longer serving food. Now she was serving justice. Her work at the Legal Justice Foundation had begun. Her desk was small, but her mission was big. She worked on real cases. A hotel worker fired for speaking up. A farm girl paid less than minimum wage. A young man beaten by a guest at a private club. Mia listened to them, helped write legal documents, and sometimes just sat with people when they cried. She knew how they felt, because she had been there too. The first big case. One day, her boss handed her a file. "This one's big, Mia," the woman said. A group of janitors in Miami were locked inside their building overnight by a new manager. No food, no warning, just fear. Mia opened the file. The story was terrible. "How can someone treat people like this?" she whispered. "You tell me," her boss replied. "Do you want to help lead this one?" Mia nodded. "Yes," she said. "Let's do it." And just like that, Mia went from a silent worker to the voice of dozens more. A surprise call. One night, Mia's phone rang. The number was unknown. She picked up. "Hello. Hi. You don't know me, but my name is Rosa. I work in a hotel in Arizona. One of the dishwashers here told me about you." Mia smiled. "How can I help?" I needed to say thank you. Your story gave me courage. I spoke up today. I told my manager that he couldn't yell at me like that anymore." Mia's voice softened. "And what happened?" Rosa laughed. He looked shocked, but he didn't say a word back. For the first time, he listened. They both sat in silence for a moment. Then Maya said, "I'm proud of you." The growing movement. Soon, more and more people joined the movement Mia unknowingly started. Hashtags like #VoiceForTheSilent and #StandWithMia flooded social media. A national talk show invited Mia to speak. A magazine wrote, "She was just a waitress. Now she's changing labor laws." But fame didn't change her. She still took the bus, still packed a lunch, still wrote in the same notebook each night. One evening, she flipped back to the page where she had written, "They sent the storm, but I won't break." She smiled. Then she added a new line below it. "Now I am the storm, and I bring justice with me." Back at the resort. Meanwhile, the resort received a special letter. It came from a group of former employees. In the envelope was a photo of them holding signs that read, "Thank you, Mia." The manager, Daniels, pinned the photo in the staff lounge. The new workers looked at it every day. They didn't know Mia personally, but they knew this. Because of her, the fear was gone. Now, when guests tried to shout or throw their weight around, the staff didn't cower. They stood tall. One last visitor. One quiet afternoon, a girl walked into the resort lobby. She was about 17, wearing a school uniform and holding a folder. Leo, the receptionist, looked up. "Can I help you?" "Yes," she said. "My name is Alina. I'm here for an interview. I want to work here." Leo smiled. "First job?" Alina nodded. "Well," he said, "let me show you something first." He walked her to the photo of Mia. "She worked here once too," Leo said. "She made this place better." Alina looked at the photo, then back at Leo. "I want to be like her." Leo grinned. "Then you're already off to a good start." The world had moved on, but the name Mia had not faded. It was whispered in hotel break rooms. It was written in school essays. It was remembered by those who once felt invisible. A visit to the past. 2 months after her last big case, Maya returned to her old town, not as a waitress, not as an employee, but as a speaker at the city's Youth Empowerment Conference. The hall was full. Hundreds of students, parents, and workers sat quietly as Mia stepped up to the stage. She wore simple clothes, a blue blazer and black jeans, nothing flashy, but her presence was powerful. She looked around at the young faces and began. I used to think my voice didn't matter, that people with money and power could say or do anything, and people like me had to stay silent. She paused. But that was a lie, and I proved it wrong, one word at a time. A standing ovation. When Maya finished her speech, the room stood to their feet. Tears filled the eyes of some parents. A girl in the front row held up a hand-painted sign. You are our voice. Mia smiled, nodded, and quietly stepped off the stage. She didn't need fame. She just needed to make sure no one else felt as powerless as she once did. The hidden story. After the event, a journalist asked to interview Mia. They met at a quiet cafe the next morning. The woman asked many questions about the resort, the court cases, the movement. But then she asked something Maya didn't expect. Where did your strength come from, Mia? You stood up against the rich and powerful without fear. What gave you that fire? Mia looked down at her cup for a moment. Then she reached into her bag and pulled out a worn photo. It showed a woman in a maid uniform holding a baby, standing outside a hotel back door. This, Maya said, is my mother. The real hero. Mia's mother had worked in hotels all her life. She had been shouted at, touched without permission, paid too little, blamed for things she didn't do. And still, she smiled, worked hard, and came home to care for Mia. I saw her cry in the bathroom, Maya said. I saw her hide bruises. I saw her lose her job for telling the truth. But she never taught me to hate. She taught me to rise. The journalist sat in silence. Mia smiled. She didn't get justice, but she gave me the heart to fight for it. A new foundation. Weeks later, Mia announced something new. A foundation in her mother's name. The Elena Grace Project. Its goal: train young workers about their rights, offer legal help to abused employees, help women rebuild their lives after workplace trauma. Donations came in from all over the country. Mia didn't care about the money. She cared about the mission. One last walk. One evening, Maya returned to the same beach she once surfed on. The waves still moved the same way. The breeze still carried laughter from families on vacation. But now, she wasn't part of the staff. She was part of something greater. She walked slowly along the shore, quiet, thoughtful. And as she passed the old tables she used to wipe down, a little girl ran past her, chasing a ball. The girl turned and smiled. Mia smiled back. Behind that girl came her mother, wearing a resort name tag. She nodded at Mia, her eyes full of respect. Mia nodded back. Two women, two stories, one fight.